What up, y'all? Ryan here with Noah Boa on episode 4 of Cash Flow and Cars. Hey guys, what's up? Ryan here, and this is my number 2, Noah.
Hey.
For those of you guys who haven't met him, Noah's literally like the perfect the perfect integrator, implementer. Literally couldn't ask for a better partner in crime. It also doesn't hurt that my business partner described him as, was it gorgeous?
I think it was gorgeous or eye candy.
I know it was eye candy. So, if he does that well with the 65-year-old men, you can only imagine doing acquisitions. Works great. So Noah's really over acquisitions of multifamily and nicer single-family assets. Doesn't really do much of our low-end wholesale stuff. Construction management, as well as our property management side, and we're actually kind of building that up under him now. So we have a full-time maintenance guy, and we're actually in the process of picking up kind of an admin / kind of catch-all leasing agent type now. What I want to go over in this video is property management, because it's kind of the big bad elephant in the room that I feel like a lot of people are afraid of. A lot of people end up hiring property management companies simply just because they don't know what to expect. And I gotta be honest, when I started doing buy and hold, it was something I was concerned about. I owned 2 rentals in St. Louis, Missouri that our original tenants are still there. It's been 4 or 5 years. They were late once. So, I knew that wasn't normal. So I kind of had all these apprehensions, and you hear about property management companies and, kind of avoiding the hassle and the headache. But the saying I've really come to adopt is, you really make your money when you buy, but you're actually going to maintain and keep your equity through management. So Noah, let's just kind of break down what we actually do on a management side, what actually goes into it. So for starters, lease up. Getting the unit actually filled, making sure we have a quality person in there. There's a couple tools we use to syndicate the listings, screen for tenants. Kind of what are we looking for there?
So the biggest thing is, obviously, when you place a tenant, you want them to be someone who's going to be there, hopefully long term, and someone who's going to take care of the property. So when we list a property, we throw it on a program called Rent Links, and that it syndicates it out to 13 to 15 different websites, and we're on the bottom tier of the package. It can do even more if we wanted to pay more. But so basically, you write up one posting, it shoots it out to all of these, like your apartment.com, Zillow,
Hot Pads,
all kinds of good ones like that.
We had a really weird one that we'd never heard of. That most of our leads come through. What's that website?
That one is Zumper. So I had never heard of it, and I would say honestly, probably 80% of our leads come through Zumper. But so once we get a lead, typically we'll get their name. They might ask a couple questions in the lead, and then we get contact info and an email. So at that point is when we start screening these people. So we give them a phone call, and in these phone calls, we pretty much ask the 3 big questions, and that for us is, number 1 is, do they make 3 times the monthly rent? And basically for us, obviously, we want to get paid. That's what everybody's here for. But also we want our residents to be very comfortable. We don't want something to happen to them one month where they can't pay rent. And typically if they're going to make 3 times the monthly rent, if something were to happen, they're still going to be able to pay rent, take care of whatever issue happened.
They're sick or something like that. Now, in our listings, we actually include 360-degree virtual tours, so that way people can really kind of get like a feel or the layout of the properties. We actually use a company called Transported. It's only like $29 a month, and then we actually, when we do a showing, we'll call that our final walkthrough. So we kind of treat that digital one almost as like the walkthrough. If you like it, you can apply. Now, occasionally we'll still show stuff before they apply, but we always try to push them to apply based off of kind of that high quality 360 tour. But what else are we looking for?
And then we also look for no evictions. Depending on the asset class that you're in, typically I would say on 90% of our stuff we don't allow any sort of eviction. It's setting us up for failure, it's setting them up for failure, and it's going to be quite a bit of hassle down the road. The only thing we have some
We got one duplex we
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have bought.
that it's very C class. We're kind of giving that a little leeway, and if you've had an eviction that's
We're
5
going-
years or older,
Yeah.
we're okay with that.
We'll
look at it.
assuming they have good current.
Right,
current history.
right. And then besides evictions, we also look for no felonies. Depending on what kind of felony it is, that one is very much a case-by-case thing. Like if someone has a drug felony as opposed to a violent crime felony, those are two very different things. But that's mainly so we're comfortable with whoever is in there. But also, when you get into your multifamily buildings, you don't want to have to worry about who your neighbors are. We
Yeah.
want our residents to be comfortable. If they have a family, we want them to be comfortable with who's living around. Because, I mean, you're in close quarters.
Well, and like tends to attract like. So if you have like
Exactly.
good quality working people, you can kind of get that feel. We actually just bought a building that's all veterans. If, you know, you pick up a sex offender or two, a couple months later, you've got a halfway house on your hands.
Yeah,
or, you know,
exactly.
something. So it's really pretty straightforward. Hasn't been that much work, and I can't imagine giving up half of a month's rent to an entire full month's rent just to have to not do that. So
Right.
not nearly as scary as you'd think. You know, it's almost kind of like interviewing people. Like you do kind of want to weigh your options and kind of compare and
Right.
ultimately decide what's the best fit for them as well as for us. But I think the big elephant in the room though really is maintenance. People are just like terrified that they're going to get the like my toilet's flooding call at like 3 a.m. Those of you guys that follow us on Facebook do know that we had an eviction that was sabotaged on his way out, but that's not a normal maintenance issue. Insurance is making us whole, all that good stuff. But when it comes to the actual like maintenance side of things, what we realized pretty quick on is it's pretty hard to get a general contractor type to pull subs to do, you know, hey, a toilet's running type stuff, because they don't make any money on it. Their subs don't make any money on it, so it's really like it's not beneficial for them or for you, because you're their last priority.
Right.
If you're not making them any money. So we kind of used our GC who was doing all of our remodels for a while, and then we kind of got to the point where we realized, you know, having somebody actually do this in-house would be great, but we actually kind of we fudged it a little bit of, you know, our portfolio's not at the point where we really need a full-time maintenance guy. I mean, we have really very little maintenance work. But what we've done, we've brought them over and had them do things like tear out, stuff like punch list, the stuff that really our GCs don't want to do anyway, and that enabled us to bring on somebody full-time that we can then kind of lean on and get stuff done. I think our average maintenance request has been done in about 12 hours.
I would say 12 hours or less.
Yeah. It's also really nice to have somebody on staff that you can have do like the preventative type stuff as well. So we do furnace checks, we do dryer vent cleanouts, you know, prevent fires, make sure everything fires up correctly. And then in Indiana, our water is really pretty hard, so water heaters we tend to go through quite a bit. I think we went through 3 or 4.
Yeah, there was one week we went through, I think we had our maintenance guy, he dropped 3 water heaters in 1 week, so that was a fun time. But with him being on staff, normally around here in our market, to get a water heater installed, picked up and everything is right around $1,000 roughly.
Yeah.
For us to do it with our maintenance guy, it was the cost of the water heater plus maybe an hour or 2 of time. So you're talking about half of what you're going to spend with the contractor dropping that in.
Yeah. But even if you're not at the point of like being able to bring somebody on full time, especially if you're in the Midwest, there's a lot of these like handyman type guys who like this is what they do. You know, they'll go. There's actually a guy here locally that'll do stuff like toilets running, sinks running, and I think his minimum charge is like $15, like dirt cheap.
Right.
You know, you're not calling like a Serve Pro or somebody to come out and look at it. So we've gone over leasing, we've gone over maintenance, and honestly, like I would say our properties, on average, we hear from our residents maybe once a quarter.
Yeah,
unless
it's
they're
pretty-
having like an
pretty
issue.
rare.
We've got a couple buildings that are coming up on over the year mark that like we haven't heard from. I mean, we've gone out to do our scheduled stuff. We've coordinated that with them, but no issues. We actually had an HOA get on us about some weeds, and we got a picture back from the family of their entire family lined up pulling weeds one evening. So, like, you know, I think that's part of some of our stuff being in nicer areas. But,
Right.
you know, I can't imagine giving up 10%. I mean, a $1,000 a month unit, I'm paying somebody $100 to take a phone call a quarter, maybe
Right.
a month.
Not worth it at all.
You know, I will say, you know, one of the perks to hiring a management company, if you get uncomfortable talking about money, could be outsourcing that piece. But with us, we just do it very matter of the fact that, you know, hey, rent was due on such and such date. It's not here. What are your plans for getting it to us? You can drive it into the office, or you can pay online. You know, and we find it's really not that bad. You know,
Right.
we've had a few people that have been late a time or two. Our rule is we'll work with them once in a year if they've been a good resident, whether that's putting them on a payment plan or waiving a late fee. If they're late, you know, more than twice in a year, then they're paying a late fee, which ultimately really ends up making us more money.
Right.
So lastly, this one's been a little longer than most of them are, but let's talk about inherited tenants. As cash buyers, you're gonna pick stuff up that already has people in there that you didn't pick.
That is true.
You know, you didn't verify their income, their credit, their background. Somebody else threw them in there because they were the first person to show up with the $50 deposit or whatever. So with us, our process has been being very firm and starting the relationship out with proper expectations.
Right.
So, you know, hey, we're the new management company. I don't know how you've done stuff before. You're not going to pay us weekly. You're not going to pay us in cash.
And we're not gonna hunt it down.
Yeah, we're not going to come. We're not going to come to you. You're going to come to us. And that's honestly like we've had
It's been
very
great.
little issue with the stuff we've inherited. In fact, I think it comes down to just kind of putting your residents first.
Absolutely.
And that the people that are renting from us know that we actually care about them. You know, they see us putting in effort to make the property nicer. Stuff breaks, we fix it in a timely manner. So we've had a lot of like even properties we bought. Speaking of property management companies, we bought a duplex, and the management company didn't know if it was occupied or vacant.
And didn't have keys
Didn't
or
have
security
keys,
deposits,
security
leases,
deposits,
anything.
leases. Literally didn't know, and it was it fully occupied, or was one side occupied?
Just one side was occupied.
So literally had an unknown occupant living in this guy's unit, which makes me wonder if they were paying him the rent he was due or not.
I don't know.
You know, so guys, that's really kind of the rundown on what we do with property management. There's literally hundreds of thousands of like what if, how do you handle this type questions, and feel free to just beat us up in the dialogue box below. We're really happy to answer any questions, you know, go over any comments, concerns, fears you guys may have, and kind of just walk you through what we do in those situations. What we found with us, you know, having people that we could do that with from the beginning made it really easy. Yeah, we had stupid drama stuff that would stress us out. You know, people wanting to know if we'd replace carpet that's 10 years old while they live there because their dogs have peed on it too much. Well, do you still have the dogs? Yes. I'm not going to give them fresh carpet to soil.
All right.
Yep. You know, so feel free to ask us any questions you guys have below. Noah will probably be in a few more of these, as will my lovely wife. But be sure to subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
We'll see ya.
See ya.